Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şirah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve hlul ukdeden min lisani yefkahu kavli. Selamünaleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Inshallah, we will continue our discussion on the number of the flash. Okay, 19. 19 flash. We are studying frugality, and we studied the third 3 points so far. Inshallah, we will continue with the fourth one. But as usual, let's remember what we studied so far. Just quick, the thoughts, maybe very quick summaries. What stayed with you? Who wants to remind us? Even if you can remind us the topic, what it is about, that would be fine. And maybe we can start with, do you have the microphone? With the Mohammed Sial, inshallah.
I'll just give a one-word answer.
So whichever you prefer.
Frugality.
Okay, what about frugality?
I would think one thing that I really remembered was we were asking a lot of questions about whether it only pertains to quantity. Like, okay, does it mean that I always have to, the only way to be frugal is to have less? So I always have to have less, or I have to have the simplest of things? Or can I be frugal living at maybe the baseline of what everybody around me is living with, or even having more? Like, what if I'm blessed with more? Do I just have to reject it? So I think we came to an understanding that it's the central part of it is more about contentment with what you have, and being able to understand understand more than just what it is at the material or surface level, but what it points to, and what you're getting out of it isn't just like the experience with that object or with that material thing, not that momentary experience. The experience is something more like transcendent to that, and it's pointing back to the one who's really giving you that that experience, who's providing it for you, who's creating that moment or that thing that you enjoy in your life. And to see it in that way actually brings the value in it, and can can allow you to actually reach contentment with whatever you have, instead of seeking those things in your life. Then you'll be seeking instead the one who's providing it for you.
Okay, Jazakallah. Anyone else on top of this one word summary? Inshallah. That was good. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. So I struggle with this topic, so I'm glad we're talking about it, because for me also frugality is something that is, I think of in the economic sense, but some of the phrases that stood out to me in this section so far was like the phrase respecting like the bounty you're given. And so thinking about maybe being more intentional with what you're like, first of all, seeing that you're given something as a bounty to you. It's not something that you're entitled to or deserve and you can do whatever you want with, but rather it's given a purpose. And I think something that stood out to me from last week from the third point was the idea that, for example, with taste, it's a doorkeeper. So you're given a certain payment for nourishing your body, but it's not so that you can just keep like eating whatever you want. You get something so that you can continue doing the action, but not to abuse it. So I guess to boil it all down, I think there is this sense of contentment, but I guess it kind of feels like the sweet spot. Like, especially with eating, sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm not content. Let me eat a little more. And then it's like, oh, I've eaten too much now. Like, where was that point I should stop? So it feels like trying to reach that point with everything I do. That's, from what I'm understanding so far, that's what it means to be frugal.
Okay. Jazakallah. Anyone else? Big Yusuf has some shy comments, I see. He's not sure.
So at the beginning, he was highlighting wastefulness and frugality. He contrasted that. And then he said, wastefulness is disrespect to the bounty. Being disrespectful equal to being unthankful. So then the reverse of it, frugality means being thankful. So in terms of this, I guess we can make it a twin word. Frugality equals or twin to being thankful, which means wasting means if I am being unthankful or disrespectful or unconscious of bounties.
Jazakallah. Maybe like before we start the fourth point, we can open up this being thankful, being respectful part a bit. And I will give some personal examples to make it even simpler. It's easier to criticize yourself. So I used to, I still very much into the pencils. Like it's just pencil, right? Not the pen, but the pencil that you use sharpener. There are many different types. I mean, if you are not aware, especially in Turkey, when you are close to Europe, right? In US, it's not a big deal. Everything is just yellow, the simple, the office supply stuff. But in Turkey, you can find, I don't know, hundreds different. There are really good, the European brands. I used to buy them a lot. I always use pencil for writing, right? I still use pencil. At that time, when I was doing, my PhD, etc., I used to use them even more frequent. And at some point, I was buying a lot of them. Like I had rows of pencils, right? Of different types. Each type I had dozens, maybe. Right? So, am I thankful? Like I'm thinking to myself. At that time, was I thankful? Yes. I mean, if you ask, I was thankful that I had such a, the luxurious collection of pencils, like a small treasure. It's not that expensive. Like if you maybe convert to dollars, it would be, I don't know, $100 at most, like in total. But it's for pencil, it's a big deal, right? I was thankful. Like I was really like into it. I loved them, each of them. Right? Having them sharp was really making me happy. I even had, a special sharpener. But were I like a respectful to the purpose, to the reason these pencils were made? And when I think now, probably not, right? Because I was just basically collecting, hoarding them. People could use them, but I was just collecting them, putting them on a shelf, watching them. So it could be used, and I prevented from being used. A pencil. For a pencil that is not being used for writing, it's like a torture from a pencil's perspective. So I was torturing them in that regard, right? So yes, I was thankful to have the ability to buy them, collect them maybe, but I was not thankful and respectful to the fact that they were created for a purpose, for a reason, to teach us something, right? Even in Quran, it is being used, right? We taught the human with pencil, with qalam. So it is something important, valuable, and I was putting them out of currency, the circulation. So being thankful, again, the reason, I wanted to open it up, you can hold a lot of things and you can be thankful in one regard, saying that, okay, I'm thankful that I can buy them. I have, I don't know, 15 different jackets, 35 different shoes, whatever. Yes, maybe you are thankful, but are you respectful to the purpose that they were created for? For a jacket, for instance, the purpose is keep you warm, but at the same time, good looking, yes. But if you're just collecting them, buying them, just wearing once, in a year and so on, you're basically keeping them from circulation, from being used. You're creating an artificial demand, which creates an artificial, what is the opposite of the demand? The production, supply, thank you for murmuring. You create an artificial supply, right? You even want harming the economy. Maybe in a tiny sense, but you do. And it is easy for me to say because, I experienced it firsthand. And the pencil is just one example. I will not give other examples as well. I still want you to respect me. But you can apply it to yourself as well, right? Being able to buy something or being able to have something and being thankful to this ability doesn't mean that you are really thankful and respectful to this artful creation. I have a friend, a close one, I bought him a gift, something that he would use, right? After a few years, I realized that he never used it. And I was upset. I asked why. He assured me that it was out of respect because he liked it so much that he didn't want to use it. But I was upset because I didn't buy it so that it will be a beautiful decoration somewhere. It will be used. That was the purpose. So now you can apply it to everything, the money as well. The money that we hoard, money that is not in use, it's actually being disrespectful to the purpose that it is being created. It is created so that it will be circulated. That's one of the reasons in Islamic finance, hoarding is not allowed. You need to use it in economy. You have to invest. You have to buy things, etc. Not again hoard, but so that it will be distributed, it will be used. Why? Because with this action, people can observe creation. As you put things in action, you see how things are being created in front of you. As things change, for instance, you observe creation closer. If you buy all these beautiful things, stuff them somewhere, close the door, neither you nor no one else will observe them, observe their beauty, observe their, the purpose. So being thankful and respectful, we should be careful with that. Just because we enjoy, it doesn't mean we are thankful and respectful. That's another reason frugality, even when defined in the way that we define, necessarily relates to having things minimal as well. Yes, it's not about the quantity. But when you apply frugality in this sense, it ends up being about quantity as well. Because if you don't use things at their bare minimum, and bare minimum, I'm not trying to define, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. You will know it. But if you're not using things at their minimum, meaning they have a purpose to fulfill, and that amount fulfills that purpose. Anything excessive of it, now you are preventing it being used for the purpose. Just like my pencils, right? A pencil is created to be used for writing. If I need to write, I don't know, 100 pages, that many pencil I need. If I have more, these excessive ones are prevented from being used. They are just hoarded, wasted, treated respectfully. Again, it's not about the number of pencils, maybe. It's about being respectful to the creation, its purpose. But when you apply it properly, it ends up being about the quantities as well. So let's not fool ourselves, right? Let's be careful with that. Any comments, questions? Pencils are so beautiful, man. Just reminded myself it was a bad example. I shouldn't.
Can Ahmet eat biryani?
So, did you do art with these pencils or
No.
just writing?
No, it's just right.
So, would a person be in their limits if they're an artist and they fully use these pencils and they still have racks of them? Like they make a painting and then they use this specific pencil that they won't use for another 3 months, but they might use it. Like, is that still frugal? Because you are still taking them out of circulation. So many of them that maybe you won't use them for like a good amount of time. But since they're truly serving their purpose, they were made for art and you're using them for art. Like,
So, like, again, the point here is not, like, in my example, it was so easy to talk about the number of pencils, right? Because I was just writing them, and it doesn't matter whether you write with this one or that one. Right? There's still different types, like the softness, etc. Like I was, be careful about that as well. But so when you change the example, like when you change the context, of course, the example and the conclusion needs to change as well. But the interesting part, like I know a few artists very closely, and with the ones that really produce, you usually don't see this hoarding behavior. They would buy whatever they need, they would use it, and then, of course, they will shelf it, right? But if they already have, a specific thing, they wouldn't buy another one. Because for an artist, a real artist, a clutter is not something, they want. So again, we can change the example. Instead of artist, we can make it something else, designer, engineer. I don't know. Like, it will depend on, the person, what they need, and etc. But I guess the point is always, like, when you buy something or when you hold something, do you think it's in your hand, it is in your hands for a purpose or not? And also, do you appreciate this purpose or not? I mean, to me, that's the equation. Again, it's not about the number. It's about the will. But when you apply in the practical life, it will become about the number. Whether it is 5 or 7, I don't know. You know, the famous narration from Prophet ﷺ. He sees a companion taking wudu from a river, or I don't know, whatever it is, a creek, maybe more realistic, from a creek, and he warns him not to waste water. That's the point, right? So he doesn't say you need to use that much water or this much water, but he observed him. He realized he was wasting. I mean, how can you waste an open water, like a running water, by using more than you need? For that purpose, the person, whatever amount he used, I'm sure it is less than what we use here at tap, right? But for that purpose, a person within that context, it was wasteful. If you are washing, I don't know, not your arms, but something else that you need to wash, you will probably use more water. Like you're washing an elephant. The reason I because I just opened a cartoon before leaving the house, and it was about the elephant. If you are washing an elephant, okay, not yourself, you will definitely use more water. And you wouldn't call it wasteful because you have to cover more, the surface area now. But again, you can become wasteful if you use 2 elephant words of water.
I guess, like, I was mixing up examples. I was also thinking about the price as well, right? Like usually art pencils are more expensive than normal pencils. So I'll bring it back to food, because if I think about chicken, like if you eat chicken biryani, like you buy chicken, right? You buy enough chicken for your biryani, you're happy. If you buy 40 chicken and you freeze them and you're like, oh, some point, I love biryani, I'll eat it at some point, like that's wrong too, like quantity wise. But you can buy a good quality of meat, you can buy a normal quality of meat. But again, according to the passage we just read, it was about again, at the tongue, it's just about the flavor. The ultimate goal is at the end, like nutrition. So nutrition wise, they might be the same, but they do taste different. Like I cannot deny that. Like if one tastes better and it is more expensive, then frugality would be to buy the normal priced meat and then not worry about like how it gives pleasure to your sense of taste that much, right? So I don't know. I feel like I keep on mixing those examples. Like what would be truly like I can eat the expensive meat and be very appreciative of the fact that Allah created that this is from Allah and it fulfilled the purpose. But was that its true purpose again?
Bu Azmun and then Yusuf, inshallah. Not yet. Yes.
So, based on what I understood from what Birkan said, so the real definition of frugality is are you using it for the purpose that it's created for? Correct? Is that what the
That's
definition is?
where I started from, yeah.
So in that case, I think it has nothing to do with the quantity at all, but I think where quantity becomes problematic. For example, like I eat chicken biryani and I get like fulfilled, like with like satisfaction, like of like eating the food. But if I don't recognize the provider through that experience. But like I direct all my like love and attention to the food itself. I think that's where like it gets problematic, because then like you are not really using chicken biryani for the purpose that it was created for. One, it is becoming like risk for you, like for sustenance for you. And through that sustenance to recognize the provider, sustainer. So if it doesn't serve that purpose, then like quantity is completely irrelevant. But if I am seeking the satisfaction from the chicken biryani itself with like for the chicken, then I'm still missing the point, because the ultimate goal is to understand the giver, provider of that sustenance. So I don't think it has anything to do with quantity at all. It's more like everything to do with the intention and like the meaning behind it. But like I think that again, like where quantity becomes problematic, because if I am pouring something, that means that within that action there is no recognition of the provider of that sustenance at all, and that's why all my attention goes to the chicken biryani itself.
Sometimes that question, like that type of questions, why do we ask the question? We should also analyze it, because like in the discussion, we talk about black and white. We talk that I should be thankful. If I'm not thankful for something, if I'm not appreciative of it, then it goes to waste. So this is very black and white. But then the question, and since you're an engineer also, like I start eating biryani, maybe my level of appreciation of the first spoon and the last spoon is different, you would say. Like, let's even assume, well, I was conscious, but which of my spoons go to waste? This is, I guess the point in here shouldn't be that, oh, after the discussion, we are going to have such a transformation that everybody stepping out of here is going to become angelic, no waste whatsoever in their lives. No, we will have a lot of wastes in our lives. Like the point should rather be with this black and white examples, trying to figure out, oh, thankfulness should be my measure when it comes to not waste. And when I'm going to attempt interacting with something, let it be biryani, let it be a car, let it be a new jacket, thankfulness, appreciation, respect is something that I need to remember. And based on this, I will try to measure or maybe stop or lesser whatever I'm attempting to do. It's like it's a lifelong journey. It's going to take time, but it shouldn't be, because sometimes human has a tendency to do that. I'm trying to ask like if it's not the perfectly correct, which is, this was also the question last week, if I cannot attain the perfect correct, and it seems almost impossible. So actually what I'm doing right now is okay. Like this kind of being the attitude that we are trying to question in, but no need for that. Let's try to spot our normal, and this is everybody, is not necessarily for you, spot Satan's trick on us and just say that, let's step back. Yeah, I will try to be more conscious. And that's the whole point.
And so going back to what Brother Osman said, well, when we give these examples about the purpose, it's still like a material purpose with the pencil, right? But in reality, when we talk about the frugality, we're talking within the context of belief, iman. And when we say purpose, it is actually the purpose of its creation. And the purpose of any creation is so that you know its creator. That's the purpose of anything, right? The purpose of taste is that you know the taste giver. The purpose of color for instance, is to know that the color giver. When you think it that way, and when we start asking the questions, should I eat this, or should I wear this, should I buy this? And all we have in mind, it's the material aspect of it. Maybe you should take a step back anyway. And it is, we know it, every one of us, I assume, I mean, may Allah protect if you don't have any, the health issues, chronic, at least once we fasted, right? And we know by experience, when you are deprived of something, you are more conscious of its giver. You are more conscious of the creator. But let's not forget about that as well. If the purpose is knowing about the creator, appreciating that it's being given as a blessing, then at least from time to time, being deprived of things would help you more than having things. Right? For a few days, I was not able to eat much. I had some, the digestive issues, let's say. I couldn't eat, anything almost. At that time, I'm eating a piece of, the potato. And I'm so conscious about everything about this potato. How soft it is, how hot or cold it is, whether it has salt or not, how I chew, how it interacts with, the inside of my mouth and then my body. I was so thankful to whoever gave it to me, a piece of potato or a soup, right? And I was thinking, oh, this is good, like such a consciousness. I'm so thankful about my situation, right? And I promised myself, of course, thinking, okay, I will continue like this. This is better. The next day, my stomach was, cured. And I ate like an animal again, without even thinking. I caught myself by at the half plate gun. I said, what is going on, Birkan? Did you promise just yesterday that you would be, thankful? So let's not forget all these, different aspects as well. So in that sense, if it will help you, again, if you will know it, if it will help you eating the less tasteful one, remind yourself the one who gives the taste. And the less tasteful one is better. By keep eating the tasteful one, what happens? You start eating like me, which I don't recommend.
I think if one can achieve or accomplish to like a point that you really truly practice that understanding, and every sustenance that you are given, you use it for the purpose that they are created for, and establish such a relationship with the sustainer, then since the sustenance itself becomes secondary and irrelevant at that point, I think you innately stop seeking more, because the relationship is already established. So you understand that the joy, the tastes, the enjoyment that you get, whatever the sustenance that you can think of, that you get out of it, you understand that comes from that is specifically created for you by your sustainer. It doesn't come from the in the example of the biryani, it doesn't come from the biryani or in the example of driving a Mercedes, like it doesn't come from that. Like once you like achieve that understanding and like that state of mind, then the experience itself, like in a way, becomes irrelevant. You just like stop seeking that, like, and then like then you don't need to acquire more and more. It kind of takes that drive away from.
جزاك الله خيرا. The fourth point will actually continue from right here, like where we are right now. So inshallah, let's read it. I want to volunteer. I want to hear a new voice today. Who you read it before, William? I remember. Who hasn't read before? Were you? Okay. Okay. Let's hear. Okay. 4th point. Yes, from beginning to end. Inshallah.
According to the hadith, the meaning of which is, he who is thrifty will not have family difficulties as regards livelihood. The frugal and economical person will not suffer undue trouble and hardship in supporting his family. There are countless proofs that the consequence of frugality is plenty and good living. For instance, I have seen myself, and I can say according to the testimony of those who have befriended and assisted me, that through being frugal, I have sometimes seen a tenfold increase, and so have my friends. Even 9 years ago, and now it is 30, a number of the tribal leaders who were exiled to Burdur together with me did their best to make me accept their zakat, so that I would not suffer privation and humiliation through lack of money. I said to those rich leaders, although I have very little money, I am frugal and economical, and I am accustomed to being content with little. I am richer than you. I refused their repeated and insistent offers. It is worth noting that 2 years later, some of those who had offered me their zakat were in debt because they had not been frugal. Thanks be to God, 7 years on from that, through the plenty resulting from frugality, that small amount of money was still sufficient for me. It did not degrade me nor compel me to present my needs to the people, nor make me deviate from my way of self-sufficiency and being independent of people, which is one of the principles of my life. Someone who is not frugal is certain to be abased and reduced to poverty and in effect to begging. At this time, money, the means of wastefulness and extravagance, is extremely expensive. Sometimes a person sells his honor and self-respect, and bribes are taken to receive it. Sometimes the sacred things of religion are sold, then some inauspicious money received in return. That is to say, material goods worth 10 kurush are received in return for an immaterial loss of 100 lira. However, if a person is frugal and restricts and limits his needs to the essential, according to the implied meaning of the verse, indeed, it is God who gives all sustenance, Lord of all power and strength. And the explicit meaning of the verse, and there is no moving creature on the earth, but its sustenance is provided by God. He will find enough sustenance to live on in unexpected ways, because the verse guarantees it. Yes, there are 2 sorts of sustenance. One is true sustenance, which is enough to subsist on. As the verse decrees, this sustenance is guaranteed by the sustainer. So long as man's inclination towards evil does not interfere, he will find this essential sustenance under any circumstances. He will not be compelled to sacrifice his religion or his honor or his self-respect. The second sort is metaphorical sustenance. With this, through abuse, inessential needs become like essential ones, and through the calamity of custom and tradition, people become addicted to them and cannot give them up. Since this sustenance is not guaranteed by the sustainer, obtaining it is extremely expensive, and especially at this time. These unfruitful, inauspicious goods are obtained with first of all sacrificing the self-respect and accepting degradation, and sometimes stooping to what is in effect begging, kissing the feet of the vile, and sometimes sacrificing the sacred things of religion, which are the light of eternal life. Also, at this time of poverty and hardship, the distress those with consciousness feel at the anguish of the hungry and needy sours any pleasure to be had from unlawfully acquired money. During strange times such as these, as far as doubtful goods are concerned, one has to make do with them to the minimum decree necessary. For according to the rule, necessity is determined according to its extent. When compelled to, illicit goods may be taken to the minimum degree necessary, not more. Someone in dire need may eat dead meat, but he may not fill his stomach with it. He may only eat enough not to die. Also, more cannot be eaten with unspoiled pleasure in the presence of 100 people who are hungry. The following is a story showing that frugality is the cause of dignity and distinction. One time, Khatim Tey, who was world famous for his generosity, was giving a large banquet. Having given his guests a superfluity of presents, he went out to walk in the desert. There he saw an old poor man who was carrying a load of thorny bushes and plants on his back. The thorns were piercing his skin and making him bleed. Khatim said to him, Khatim Tey is giving a large banquet and giving away gifts. You go there and you will receive 500 kurush in return for your load worth 5 kurush. The frugal old man replied, I raise and carry this thorny load with my self-respect. I am not going to become obliged to Khatim Tey. Later they asked Khatim Tey, have you come across anyone more generous and estimable than yourself? He replied, the frugal old man I met in the desert was more estimable, elevated, and generous than me.
So there's a reference for this story to Bukhari. Is it the part of the meaning of the story or the story itself? Anyway, let's just focus on the meaning. If you're interested, you can check the source. Okay, initial comments. I think this 4th point very nicely summarizes the main points that we discussed. Initial comments, please, Zareen. Yeah.
I guess for me, initially from this section, it kind of seems like the line between frugality and self-sufficiency is being a bit blurred for me, because from some of these examples, the attitude that I think could be, at least that I feel like I could get from this, is that, oh, I need to not ask anyone for help, kind of a way of being frugal, like just stay and have everything I need to stay in my own bubble, which I don't think is the attitude that we're going for here. And it's, I can understand that it's not the Quranic attitude at all to have this idea of self-sufficiency, but I don't know, I guess that's kind of the initial, like, I can kind of see that coming from the way some of these examples are presented.
Very good. We can like expand this question as are we being frugal so that we don't need help from others? Sorry.
Frugal to be deceived.
Okay, yes. Anyone else? Any other comments? Okay, Natalia, she's not happy with something. I can say that's good.
No, no.
We need unhappy people to understand things.
Gonna,
Oh,
with
you can pass the microphone.
this particular paragraph, I think it is very nicely put. It says also at this time of poverty and hardship, the distressed people with consciences feel at the anguish of the hungry and needy. It sours any pleasure to be had from unlawfully acquired money. And I feel like I relate to that a lot, and I think that a lot of us can relate to that a lot. I do feel sour in many points, and I do feel thankful, but I think that the phrase people use is like check your privilege. And I do feel it all the time, especially in Philly, where sometimes I'm feeling very grateful about all the blessings I've had, but it is sour to consider how bad other people are having it, you know, having life. So I don't know, like it is a very good like phrase to live your life by, to try to recognize that when you're trying to do something unlawful to get money, like does it even feel good? Like knowing that like there are all these people like living in these conditions. I don't know, I just related to that a lot.
جزاك الله خيرا. Yusuf, and later Ahmed, inshallah. You raise your hand first, so you can go.
So, in here, in the original text, he uses the word baraka. He says, frugality causes baraka. What does that mean? Because baraka means increasing, becoming plenty. With frugality, I mean, you have 5. Let's say if you are going with numbers, where you just keep it or don't use it as much, how does it increase? Like, what sort of plenty, what sort of baraka is he talking about in here?
جزاك الله خيرا, very good point. At the very beginning, he talks about, just to remind you where he's referring to, Yusuf. For instance, I have seen myself, and I can say, according to testimony of those who have befriended and assisted me, that by being frugal, I have sometimes seen a 10-fold increase. Anyone else? So we have barakah, the 10-fold increase or increase. We have relationship between frugality and self-esteem, self-sufficiency. What else? Like 2 questions we have so far. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
I think I'm just going to move to this. I think for like the barakah part, I think it comes, at least for my understanding, and like I've experienced it comes from the fact that when you have less, I feel like in times that I've had less, I have felt more content with what I had. Like, yeah, like I feel like I've felt more thankful for the provision, and I felt, again, like you said, like you were more conscious of that potato. Like I feel like I'm thinking of that as barakah. Like you're so conscious of the food that's being provided to you that it does increase tenfold in that sense.
Yeah. And like a parallel to that, sometimes, you know, what happens, you open the fridge and you say, oh, we don't have anything at home to eat, right? You truly feel that, and we don't have anything to eat. But then when you question yourself and think again, you realize, you know, everything you have actually there, right? By being conscious, being content, you realize actually you have a lot to fill your stomach, right? But because you being spoiled, sometimes, you know, the things that you have seems unenough, not enough. But when you are not spoiled at the moments of, the consciousness, respect, you realize and you feel how many different things that you have. So you are richer than your spoiled self. For Natalia and then you, inshallah. Yeah.
Just to build off on that, I feel like there is this like spiral of almost misery that comes when you start acquiring a lot of money, and with that come, like, if you succumb to the material desires, it's just a never-ending spiral of I'm not happy, I need more, and you need more, and you need more. And like all of a sudden, like, it happens to people, like, I got my first iPhone, now I need the latest iPhone. And I do have the latest iPhone just in case, like,
If you want to take a picture with the latest iPhone, then
so like whatever, right? But
she allows you to hold it. Yeah.
that it, like, once you're content with like being frugal, then you understand that your happiness and contentment don't come from things. And I think that's the best thing that you can have in your life, because then no one can take anything away from you, like, or no one can take your happiness or your contentment away from you by taking away your material things, because that was not the source of your contentment anyway.
Jazakallah. If you can pass the microphone, not to Zerwin, but yeah. Zerwin is, yeah, after.
With the point of being frugal, you'll realize that you'll have enough. I want to say as well that is true in the metaphysical sense, but I think also in the true physical sense. Allah says that in shakartum la azidannakum, like, if you are grateful, I will give you more. And that's from like things that I've heard, but also things that I've experienced. Like, don't they say one of the things that actually increases your wealth is charity? Like, that, if you explain that to someone who isn't Muslim, they're like, how does that? They say, oh, maybe, yeah, it brings wealth of like community. But no, I think it actually means, like, if you give your money charitably with the intention of pleasing Allah, He does give you more money. That is something that I've noticed. And to the point of the self-sufficiency and the frugality, I kind of see that examples very similarly to the example of the mouth being, the taste being like a gatekeeper, as in like it being like a slippery slope. If that self-sufficient, if you don't find a way of being self-sufficient-ish, I'm gonna use air quotes here, but that you might fall into the trap of thinking that you depend on someone rather than Allah. And to that, I think about two examples that kind of come to mind. And I might be wrong on this, so please correct me if I am incorrect. But isn't there this, like, I don't know if it was a hadith or an ayah where Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was about to be burned at the stake. And the angel Jibreel came down and said, do you want help from me? And I think, wasn't Ibrahim said, from you? No, I only take help from Allah. Even Jibreel was sent by Allah. But even in that moment, Ibrahim was like, no, my tawakkul is completely on Allah. So I kind of, and in reward to that, Allah made the fire cool and not harmful for him. And the other kind of example that kind of comes to my mind is when you think about the Prophet, peace be upon him, how his early life was. Like, he lost so many of his family members, his mother, his father, people close to him. And there's something like an interesting interpretation that I understood of this is that Allah made this so that the Prophet can learn to, peace be upon him, to depend only on Allah. Not to say that, oh, you got prophethood because you were, you had like parents to take care of you. And I kind of just see the self-sufficiency of just depending on someone could be like a slippery slope of, oh, this is the person that provides for me rather than Allah is the ultimate provider. I don't know, these thoughts were kind of like a bit jumbled, but that's how I was thinking about it.
Definitely.
Thank you.
I guess that alhamdulillah was a good segue actually to my next kind of thought. I guess this next relationship that I was thinking of was between frugality and generosity or charity, because I don't know, sometimes like how can you be both frugal and generous? So I guess I'm probably still thinking in economic terms, but I guess maybe to try to get at an answer for that, like for example, with giving, I guess the concept of giving in and of itself, there might just be some problems with the way I'm understanding it, where like with giving charity and zakat, sometimes it feels like, let me just give money to this organization and that's enough. But I guess the idea behind actually giving someone something is to like actually help them with what they need. Like giving a gift, for example, you want to think about what someone would actually use, like Brother Burkhan was saying, and not just buy something, keep like not thinking about the person. So I guess maybe then being generous and like giving and taking zakat has to be done with intention and not just, I guess, trying to, I don't know, throw money somewhere. But yeah.
So I think being like worshiping is at the center of the discussion. So like whether it's a generosity and like giving charity or being frugal, at the center of it is worship. And the essence of the worship is understanding your own poverty and impotence, right? And practicing this like generosity act or like frugality act is actually putting your iman and your belief in practice, in the sense that like through those actions, whether like you are frugal or whether you are giving charity, you are putting your belief in practice to recognize your sustainer, giver of giver of the bounties, like whatever you experience. So for that reason, being frugal and like relying on God and completely trusting in Him brings a lot of freedom. Outwardly, it might seem like it is you are conceited and self-reliance, but in its essence, actually, you are not. It's not a self-reliance. It's like reliance on God, like trusting in God. So there is like it's completely like 180 degrees, two completely like black and white concepts in that sense. Because in one understanding, when you are frugal, you are doing with the consciousness to practice, put your like iman in practice, because you are putting the understanding in practice to enhance your relationship with God and understanding that He is the giver of every bounty, every sustenance, and you can only use whatever you are given within the conditions and like the permissions that you are given. And on the other hand, like giving as the charity, since the essence of the worship is impotence and poverty, it's not yours to begin with. You are just entrusted with whatever the bounties that you are given or wealth you are given. You are just entrusted with it. And the question is, are you going to use it like in the name of its giver, or you're going to use it like in the name of yourself? And once you ask that question to yourself, like, then it's not your money to give away. Like for charity. It is just it's milk is his, and you are interested with it. You just shouldn't be blocking like the manifestation of his richness and of his mercy and compassion.
Jazakallah. Any comments, questions? So maybe we can tie a few things together, starting from Sister Lerin's question about the self-reliance. So even if you try to self-rely, you will rely on what? Right? You have nothing. You don't have power. You don't have the ability to control things. So the self-reliance will be self-deception anyway. I guess the point here is like it should be taken from the opposite side, which is the author is trying to say that do not rely on others, or do not rely on false idols. Let it be your friends, your parents. I was having a conversation with a friend, a colleague. He was saying, they had to postpone some wedding arrangements because they have to obey their parents. Right? I understand, like from the culture, you didn't mean something awkward, but this is how we usually take our parents. We rely on them. We usually listen to them because we are afraid if we do not, we will lose our economic power. I mean, let's be honest. Right? You can take the other way around. If you have kids, you want them to rely on you so that you can practice your power. Sorry?
Your lordship.
Your lordship, right? This is how we usually have these relationships. An author says, when he talks about the self-esteem, it's not relying on false idols. Being aware of it. No, my boss, my friends, even the friends with good intentions, they cannot sustain me. They don't have power to sustain themselves, let alone me. Being aware of this. And being aware that whatever it is given to you, whatever you have, it's not from your hard working. It's not from because you know the important people or the right people. This is today's, the understanding in our society, right? If you know the right people, if you act in the right way at the right moment, you will achieve things. That's what they teach us. The author says, no, just deny all this. Know that whatever you have, whatever you are given, is given by the one, whoever is taking care of you all these years. Whoever is taking care of the entire universe, entire creation. Don't forget that. He's giving me things. He's giving me my need and then sustenance for this need. As author says, for my basic needs, my fundamental needs, I always see it as being sustained. Don't automatically think about some extreme examples. Oh, on that part of the world, there is a woman who cannot, nurse his child and etc. Don't jump on such examples in your mind. I know your mind will do the mind with us. in creation, we have exceptions to remind us some things, seeming apparent exceptions, right? So for instance, in creation, we have this apparent, the exception of some people not given some intellect, right? Being born with some disabilities. Right? So we see that. From our perspective, something is lacking, and we understand from that whatever it is lacking, it is out of a choice. There is someone who controls things. We understand it better. As we said a few minutes ago, sometimes when you are deprived of things, you understand the giver better. Same way, through these exceptions, we understand the phenomena there better. But it is apparent because when you study their lives, you see that from their perspective, in terms of contentment, nothing is missing. Anyway, going back to our topic, whatever you are given is given by the one who sustains you, sustains the entire creation. In that regard, you don't need anything else. That's what I understand from sufficiency. It's not self-sufficiency, but the sufficiency of, the trusting the one who can control some. Yes, please.
So the word that's used in there is izzah. Like during Ramadan, they make this dua, Allahumma izzah al-Islam wal Muslimin. So like this type of izzah. But that izzah is like there is you being an abd, meaning you're a slave. We are talking about izzah, like the dignity of a slave of God, meaning you're expected to lower yourself or realize your lowness before your creator. This is the highest dignity that you can get. But what is the alternative that's being mentioned in here? Me bowing not before my creator, but bowing before others. Like this is belittling yourself truly. At the end of the day, I'm going to recognize my neediness, my lowness. But if I go and knock the door of a person to ask for their money, them to make me more valuable, author is saying that I am staying away from doing this. I'm just turning back to my creator. And I am like, this is dignity. Before my creator, I am lowering myself, not before anybody else. And there was one interesting phrase here, which I would like to highlight. Says, at the present time, the money, the translation is a little awkward. So I will try to translate it similar to the original. So at this time, the money to be used in wastefulness is very expensive. Says, sometimes a person sells his honor or self-respect, bribes his self-respect to get such a money to be wasted. This is why he highlighted two types of sustenance. One is that's sufficient to make you survive, live a life. The other one is to make you live according to certain standards, like according to the American dream or whatever it is, or I need to be there. This money is expensive. It says to get this money, you are paying your life, sometimes your dignity. What does paying dignity means? I am bowing before people, sacrificing my life rather than bowing before my creator. Says this is not under the guarantee. The first sustenance type is under guarantee because your creator says, I will make you survive. I give you the life and I will sustain the life as well. So only bow me for that. But for anything beyond this, this is where the topic of dignity came in, because now I am going and knocking people's doors, and those people are, people who are saying that, go and come and kiss my hand, bow before me, be extra kind to me and whatnot. I guess everybody in this room knows how to treat their advisor, their PI, their superiors and whatnot at workplace. This is what that means, to bow before them. We do that, I do that. So this is the thing that was not, that's being mentioned in here. So we pay a lot for that. And
So I also like knocking the doors of not only people, but also knocking the doors of things as well. What I mean with that, now tying back to the point made by maybe Natalia, things being enough or not. So when you expect the outcome from the things themselves, right, it becomes the active worship. The health, for instance, if it is coming from medicine, you are worshiping medicine. You expecting the health is coming from this thing, right? And how you know that? You ask yourself, how do you feel when you are out of medicine? Because if the medicine is really just a means of, for the health, yeah, the health is coming from the one who creates me, who creates the health, whatever, right? If you truly believe in that, the medicine is just a means. Right? You say that my creator gives me health through this medicine. When you are out of medicine, you're not out of creator either, as well. So it wouldn't cause you a stress. You would say, the one who gave me health through this stupid pill, right, so far, if he wants, he will give me health through other means as well. Now things will not cause this stress when you lose them. Why this is important? Because when you lose this sense, nothing will be enough. When you start worshiping things themselves, when you do not tie the quality you observe there with the one who creates the entire universe, what happens? You look at the medicine, it has that amount of capacity, right? So when you start worshiping this thing, you know that it is not enough to satisfy your needs. So you will need more. It is just a tiny thing. I should have more to satisfy myself. When you trust money, for instance, when you worship money so that it will give you prosperity, you know that it's just a piece of paper by itself. It won't be enough. A $10 bill can buy you only $10 worth of things. So you need more. No matter how much you have, it won't be enough. Because as a human being, you have like innumerable needs, infinite needs. No matter how much money I give you, if it is the money that gives you your wealth, your health, your prosperity, your happiness, even if you have, this room full of money, you know that it is not enough. It's just the paper, after all. So you need more of it. Maybe as a together, when they come together, maybe it will be enough. That will be your mental set, like the mindset. That's what we do, right? With this as a society as well. We are not powerful by ourselves, but when we come together, we are so powerful. We know deep inside that this person is worthless. This person, sorry, that person is worthless. Mariam's not you, right? Okay, no. This person is worthless. We know that this person is worthless. If I put them together, maybe, right? As a society, maybe we can stand, injustice. if you trust the person itself, it won't be enough. You will need more of it, always. Okay, you prefer he? Okay. So where were I? Okay, they will not be enough. Okay, as a whole. So that's maybe the real cause, underlying cause, that things will not be enough. As you get more, you will need more. When you see this symptom in yourself, and you will, because just be honest to ourselves. In our lives, there are many things that are not enough. Now ask yourself, why? Because if it is coming from the one who can control our galaxy, anything is enough. It's a connection to the infinite power, the connection to the infinite will. Everything is enough. You are given one piece of bread, an olive. For me, olive is necessary. An olive, right? At least you will know that it is enough. If this is the one that I'm given, it must be enough because it is given by the one with the infinite treasure. That must be the link to him. Okay? With this mindset, you will not be searching for more, seeking for more. If you are given more, you will accept it. But you will not be worshiping. Again, how do you know? It's so easy. Ask yourself, can you, accept less of it? And you would say, no, I need more. I tried it once with a very simple thing, right? That was something, doesn't matter what. I don't want, the people laughing at me. That was something that I loved a lot. I had many of it, let's say. One day, after a discussion or something, doesn't matter, I said, do you know what? Let me not use it anymore. Do you know what happened? It's so simple. Like, let's say, I don't know, scarf. Okay? As simple as cigar. Let not use it anymore. I will not wear it anymore. Just like a nicotine addiction. Something inside me started shaking. What do you mean, Birkan? Why not? It's halal. Why you are, depriving yourself? So angry, something in me. It's not about, whether it is halal or not, whether it is, good or not. Even the idea of, not doing it anymore made me so pissed off. Why do you think the reason is? Because I was rational and, oh, Birkan, you shouldn't deprive yourself with things, the Allah made it permissible, whatever. No. The point was, I was addicted. The point was, I was worshipping it. Or without it, I will not have my status. Without it, I will not have my health. Without it, I will not have this or that. So you are knocking the doors of all these things and worshipping them. That's your reality. And the author says, through frugality, get rid of them. At least imagine getting rid of them. If you cannot get rid of them in physical sense. If you can, it is even better to test yourself, to teach yourself something. To teach yourself that the less is actually enough. Try it, see what happens. Then you will understand what it means to worship things. Because when we say, we worship money or whatever, we say, I'm not Elon Musk. I mean, what money are you talking about? How much I earn? No, you do. When you give a charity, let's say, when you put $10 in, let's say, I don't know, Al Jamia's basket, tell yourself, oh, you know what? I will put 20. I was saving this $10 for, I don't know, biryani. Let me put it as well. Check yourself how you feel. If something is shaking in here, right? Like trying to shake your entire body and get angry. What is wrong with the biryani, man? If somebody is shouting inside, then for you, maybe you need less biryani. So this Izza, the author is like esteem, dignity, what he's talking about. Because we worship a lot of things.
I think we are all influenced by the modern or maybe secular definitions of economics. That's why like it's so hard for us to think otherwise. Like how what they say, like infinite needs with limited resources, right? That's what economists studies. How can you satisfy the infinite needs with limited resources? But in reality, the resources or the source is not limited, it is absolute. The source of the satisfaction is absolute, and the needs are infinite, but the infinite needs are equally created like alongside what in the material world, like whatever like we think that like it is satisfying those needs. The need and the answer to those needs are created together equally at the same time by an absolute source. And these two different worldviews is completely like opposite to each other, and we are so much influenced by the secular understanding. Every time when we try to make sense of like let's say like a religious subject or concept, it's so difficult for us to comprehend what that even means, and we are always like revolving around the quantity rather than like trying to understand the paradigm between the two.
So that was a very good summary of actually what I was trying to say. Like the basic understanding, fundamental understanding in our minds is finite resources, limited resources. Why we emphasize that? Because we think these resources is sustaining us. And I see only 10 apple trees out there, not more. So what is the natural consequence? People is trying to control apple trees. I have to own them all. The oil resources is not enough. I will capture, the president of another country, so that I will have more oil resources. It makes sense. I mean, he's so right from his perspective. I pledge my if what is taught us in classrooms is true, that we have infinite needs, which is true, yes, that is satisfied or needs to be sustained with the limited resources. If this is true, what our president, not yours maybe, but our president is doing is right. I hope he does more of it, right? If this is the case, because there are limited, the resources. But what Quran is teaching us is that no. The resources are limitless. Beyond that, even a single resource that you have is a link, a connection to the infinite treasuries. to the absolute power, absolute will, absolute richness, even one of them. So this is just the opposite of it. If this is the case, he says, I have a handful of oil and that's enough for me. Why I should bother with the others? Let them have it. Then our president is doing something so bad. He's teaching us all, the entire nation. Can you imagine the responsibility in his shoulders? Now he's actively teaching us the resources are limited. Shirk, such a huge burden shouldering.
A very small anecdote. I mean, not necessary to be said, but the other day I was having a breakfast-like thing, and I have good breakfast if wife is there. If wife is not there, it's a very light breakfast. I just feed myself. So I guess with my wife, I feed my spirit as well. Anyways, I was just eating yogurt and bread, and it was so tasty. So I said, what does Elon Musk eat in the breakfast? Do you need anything more than this bread and yogurt, really? So alhamdulillah, it was very satisfactory. But I don't know. I guess whenever we are not able to appreciate, there's no end. We would like more and more.
I have one anecdote to share too. When I first came to US, like I worked, like we had like this toy business and we were selling scooters. So we sold a few of them to like this guy who came to shopping with his own private jet.
To buy scooters.
So like, and he asked us if he can deliver, and like we did. Like, so we delivered the scooters to his house, like somewhere in mid Pennsylvania, and this was like a huge mansion. And he invited us, like he was like, oh, like, would you like to have barbecue? He was like a very nice person. So we went into his house, like, and sitting in his living room, and we talked about his family life. And he said like he had like 5 kids or something. And as we were having the conversation, the kids came down from upstairs. Like they came down, went to the kitchen, like 3 of them, one after another, went to the kitchen, opened up the cabinet, pull out the breakfast thing. What is it called? No, it's like cereal. They open up the cabinet, open up the cereal, open up the fridge, without an exception. All 3 of them did the same thing. And I was just like observing the scene, looking at the house, looking at the richness of the guy. I was like, you have like that kind of money, but like your breakfast is cereal. It was like an eye-opening moment for me. I was like, you don't need to be that rich to eat cereal for your breakfast, because especially coming from a Turkish culture, breakfast is one of the main course. Like there could be a lot of richness in breakfast. I was like I feel bad. I really felt bad for the kids. Like I was like, you have so much, but like you eat cereal for breakfast. Anyway.
Jazakallah. Okay, any other comments, actually concluding remarks? Very fruitful discussion, inshallah.
Arslan didn't come this week. I hope it's not about the topic.
Well, I don't know. Anyone with concluding remarks, final questions, some notes for next week? Okay,
We can address this next week. But if the person, the old man, accepted the banquet and the money from Hatim Tai, would he have been wrong? Like, to me, I'm reading this event and I'm thinking, okay, this is an old man, he's struggling, he's bleeding, Allah sends help, and he says, no, I don't want it. Like, I'm having a lot of trouble, like, seeing this. Like, why couldn't this be read as like this was like Hatim Tai was just a means? Of course, if you still recognize your sustainer, by that, oh, this is coming from him, not Hatem Tai, then it should be fine. Like, why isn't it taken as that and yet this?
So I'm not sure if we studied that part, but when author interprets the verse, do not eat those that does not, upon which Allah's name is not pronounced. وَلَا تَأْكُلْ مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ says the obvious meaning of this is don't eat meat which is not slaughtered with God's name pronounced on it. But he uses the word udhkur in a different way. He says, if it doesn't remind you of the creator, it's not halal to eat it. Like if the food itself doesn't remind you of the creator, then it's not halal to eat it.
Okay.
So, mimma lam yudhkar ismullahi alayh. So now he says a side meaning, a different interpretation of the verse would be, it's not the main meaning, is that if the food doesn't remind you, and then he extends it saying that the giver should be giving in the name of God, and then you should be taking in the name of God. Then you are taking from the creator. It says if the giver doesn't give in the name of God, but you need to take because you are needy, as you mentioned, it says then you should see the hand of God above that person's hand and then take it from God, like you take in the name of God, say Bismillah and take it so that it becomes sort of halal to you. So in this regard, yes, in one sense, what you say is correct, but it's again, depending on the situation. The bottom line though is, do you see God being pronounced or is the giver reminding you of the creator or not, I guess?
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم ودعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة